Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen tries to force me to make my son wear a helmet even though he's old enough to make that decision himself. After that, parents told me that spending long amounts of time with any of their adult kids is bad for their marriage. And after that, my entitled mother tries stealing my inheritance. She ends up in major debt. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen has to go into debt. I don't mind that. You'll be the one paying for it. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen tries to force me to make my son wear a helmet even though he's old enough to make that decision himself. I'm 42, male, and my son, who's 15, is a good kid and he loves to skateboard. He's actually pretty talented and is even sponsored by the local skate shop. He skated since he was 7. Until he was 13 or so, I always made him wear a helmet. He started resisting wearing a helmet around then, and while I would prefer that he does wear one, I know I can't control every aspect of his life. By that point, his body had learned how to fall correctly when he messed up on a trick. I used to skate back in the day. If you skateboard, you know what I mean. So I made a compromise with him. If he's just out street skating with his friends, he doesn't need to wear one. But if he's at a park that requires it, or is skating at a bowl or a half pipe, or if he's otherwise attempting something dangerous for the first time, then he needs to wear one. He readily agreed and has been good about wearing a helmet in those circumstances. Anyway, a couple weeks ago, my wife, who's 41, was running an errand the other day, and she saw our son out skateboarding, doing tricks down a small 5-stair set, and he wasn't wearing a helmet. She flipped out, pulled over, yelled at him in front of his friends, and made him come home. Now, it's not that my wife didn't know about my helmet rules, but in her view, what he was doing qualified as dangerous. He can ollie down stair sets almost 3 times that size. She's never really loved that he's been into skateboarding. She always wanted him to do team sports, and as such, I don't think she fully appreciates how good he is for his age, nor does she understand that he knows what his limits are and what he's doing. She's now insisting that he wear a helmet at all times, much to my son's chagrin. I pointed out to her, privately, that this is ridiculous. He's at an age where he can make this choice himself, and on top of that, our daughter, who's 14, who does cheer and gymnastics and doesn't have to wear a helmet, despite head injuries being fairly common in those sports. To make my point, I got one of those cheerleader helmets and declared that she now needs to wear a helmet too, since her brother has to. Our daughter is kind of a weirdo, and to her credit, thinks this is all pretty funny, and said something like, "I will be known as the Helmet Queen," and started wearing it at practice. My wife is now freaking out because she doesn't want our daughter to stick out at games or competitions and make people think that she's special. Yes, seriously, she said that. My wife is saying I'm both undermining her and encouraging our son to do dangerous things, and that our daughter is going to get bullied for wearing a helmet. So, am I the jerk? You're the jerk. You're too concerned with being the cool parent. Everyone wears helmets, even Olympic athletes. Aside from safety, he could lose his sponsorship. Nobody wants their brand tied to a gross negligence and poor role models. Even Tony Hawk wears one. Yeah, I was going to say that. Every video I remember seeing of Tony Hawk, he has a helmet on. He doesn't always have pads on, but he always wears a helmet. I think OP needs to make a distinction of when protection is needed. If he's just cruising around and using it as transportation, he's probably fine. If he's jumping down flights of stairs, he probably needs a helmet. Not necessarily from his own skill level, but from possible interference from the outside world, errant cyclists, or oblivious people walking around. You said your daughter is kind of a weirdo, and to her credit, thinks it's all pretty funny. Actually, your daughter sounds like the only sensible one among the 4 of you. She's comfortable enough with herself to know wearing a safety device isn't going to affect her socially in the long run, and knows how to embrace change. Frankly, I'm surprised at how level-headed she is when the 3 of y'all seem to be equally stubborn. While your son needs a crash course in why his safety comes before his looks, and your wife needs to chill out about worrying that your daughter is going to look different, you are by far the biggest jerk of the group for your blatant disregard for your son's physical safety and dragging your daughter into your argument with your wife. You're the jerk. Also, your daughter is hilarious. You're the jerk. I'm a nurse, and the one time I wasn't home to make him wear a helmet, he crashed his skateboard and was injured. Head injuries can be serious and are preventable with a helmet. Again, you're the jerk. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his wife? Please let us know. Public service announcement. Always wear a helmet. Parents told me that spending long amounts of time with any of their adult kids is bad for their marriage. I, 26, male, was recently told by my parents, who are in their late 50s, that I wouldn't be able to live with them for more than a night, even if I lost my job, because it's bad for their marriage. My sister, who's 29, has a chronic illness that forces her to visit my parents for about 1 week at a time to see a specialist in our home city. My parents told me that even my sister spending a week with them is bad for their marriage, and they have to put an end to it. This whole conversation started because there might be a lapse in my lease, and I might not have a place to live for a few weeks in June. I own a travel trailer, so they said I could live in that at a campground before my new lease starts. I was shocked that even if push came to shove, I wouldn't be able to land at their place for a short while. 2 years ago, when lockdown hit, my girlfriend, 24 female, and I were displaced. We crashed at a friend's place for 2 months because my parents, who literally own 2 houses, wouldn't allow us to stay at either. My mom told me then, "We would always let you stay with us, but we just can't house your partner as well. She's a taker." Okay, whatever. My mom was newly sober, so I didn't think much of it. Well, 2 years later, here we are, and I am in fact not allowed to stay with them. I quoted my mom back to her. She called me manipulative. My dad shouted at me, and they both told me, "A lot has changed in the last 2 years. We are doing a lot better, and living with you is bad for our marriage. We can't live with you at all anymore unless you become very sick or are in severe debt." Well, guess they're going straight to the nursing home if they live long enough. More context. My mom drinks too much, and she's been sober for 2.5 years. My parents have seen the same therapist since, which seems fishy. Mother went from aggressively pushing meds on the whole family for years to staunchly hating all meds. End rant. Crap like this makes me so grateful for the family I'm building with my girlfriend. No plans on having kids though. Well, in their old age, you can tell them they can't live with you because it would be bad for your marriage. Just make sure you remind them why they are getting the cheapest old folks home available in the worst area of your city. I can relate to this and it really hurts. My parents are divorced and I moved out of state several years ago. After about 1.5 years of not getting to see either of them, I planned a trip to visit my mom and contact my dad and asked if he'd be up for a visit one of the weekends I was in town. He said yes, and he picked me up from my mom's. I had flown in, so no car. I thought we had a good weekend together, but after I left, he sent me an email saying he had the worst weekend ever and how I made him so uncomfortable by doing rude things. His examples were that I asked for his Wi-Fi password and that I offered to drive his car to pick up takeout we had ordered. In his mind, I was trying to hack his internet and steal his car. I literally have no idea where this came from. In the email, he said that he likes his privacy and that I'm not welcome in his home overnight. He went on to say that he's looking forward to the day my youngest sibling turns 18, so he will never have to have any of his 5 kids stay in his home again. I was shocked, sad, uncomfortable, you name it. About a year later, I called him to let him know that I was pregnant and he was going to be a grandpa. He acted happy and then completely ghosted me. It's been 2 years since I heard from him. I have no idea what happened, but he also had an unhealthy and overstepping relationship with his counselor. I think that played a part. My entitled mother tries stealing my inheritance. She ends up in major debt. I'm 22, male. I have a mother who's 54 and used to have a father, 57, and I also used to have a sister, 29, but both my father and sister sadly passed in an accident a few months ago. I was out of town, so I didn't know until my mom called me. I was horrified and immediately took a train to see her. It was mostly just both of us crying and grieving, but a week after that and a day before the funeral, we went to go see my dad's lawyer and discuss the will. It turns out the assets were all split 50-50 with my sister, but I ended up with more of the money because my dad gave the house to her. The house was only under my dad's name, so he could give all of it to whoever he wanted. Now, since my sister is gone and I ended up with everything including the house, now let me tell you, my dad was a good investor and businessman, so he was what you could say wealthy, so I got a lot. I was planning on giving the house to my mom and around 30% of the money, but when we got in the car, before I could even say anything, she started talking. The following conversation went like this. My mom, "OP, you need to just give the house to me. It's mine. I live in it, and you aren't going to need it. It should have gone to me anyways. Also, he was my husband, and I deserve half of the money you got. I don't know why you would have got anything anyways, but that money was your sister's, and now it should be mine. Me. It doesn't matter if you deserve it or if it was my sister's, and now it should be yours. It's my money, and I can do whatever I want with it. My mom. I know, but I'm your mother, and you should give it to me. Me. Can we talk about this after the funeral, please? She said okay. Then we went on with the funeral, but afterwards she didn't waste any time and demanded the house and half the money as soon as we got home. I told her straight up, no, I was gonna give it to you and 30% of the money, but I don't want to anymore because you're acting like you're entitled to that money. She started screaming at me, saying that after everything she's done for me, I won't give her the money that is rightfully hers, and then she threatened to sue me. I told her go ahead, since now I have the money for it, and she doesn't have that much, and surprisingly she did. I got a letter in the mail telling me this. I immediately got a lawyer, and he said he would take care of it, and he did. I won the court battle, and my mom didn't get a cent, and actually got in debt for the lawyer fees, which wasn't much since she lost, but was more than she could afford. During this time, I actually got very depressed since I realized my mom never actually loved my dad, or at least I don't think. She only loved his money, and since my dad and sister were both gone, also while I was growing up, I was my mom's favorite kid, and I would talk to her all the time, so it was really tough after this not talking to her since I still loved her. Also, I ended up letting her live in the house, but she paid the bills and everything, and I still own it. Let me know if you think I should give her any money, or if I'm a jerk. I want to hear your opinions. Please don't give her any money. She has proven that the only thing she cares about is the money. Not you, not your dad, and not your sister. If you give her money, she will continue to need more until she gets all out of it, and then you will both be broke and unhappy. Your dad knew what he was doing when he didn't leave anything to her. He knew she would squander it. That money is for you to have a happy, healthy life. It was bad enough the way she demanded the house and half the money. Then she threatened to sue you for it and actually followed through. She's lucky you're letting her live in the house after all that. I don't think you should give her any money, to be honest. Honestly, OP says some really weird stuff here. Somehow, him doing chores as a teen is supposed to prove to us that his stay-at-home mom didn't really work that much and therefore didn't really deserve his father's money? His replies to other commenters quite clearly indicate he doesn't think much of her at all. All those trying to justify his actions and saying, yeah, but too many chores becomes parentification. Did OP say he had to do too many chores? Y'all are really reaching. In fact, OP himself says he had a good relationship with his mom, and chores are normal. In fact, she's an amazing mother if she made her son do chores and learn responsibility, and he's completely clueless to the effort she's put into the marriage and the kids. In one reply, he says she only had to cook. Do you know how much cooks are paid, OP? Do you know what they're worth? Even if that's all she did, isn't that hard work for years on end? You expect us to believe that either your father raised you and your sister completely and mom was just a prop in the corner, or that she was an absentee or a bad mom? And I still don't understand how OP's father could will away everything legally with a wife in the picture. Just doesn't make sense. With the information we've been given, it sounds like his mom freaked out. I'm sure it wasn't one tiny conversation where she said, give me X and Y, and OP said, let's talk later about this, and she said, give me X and Y later, and OP said, you are being entitled, I won't give you anything, and next day she sued. There's stuff we're not being told, and this story sounds super one-sided, especially with the added comments from OP about his mom. So you're the jerk, OP, and mom's a mild jerk for being rude and entitled. I would lose it too if I gave my life to my husband and kids, and one day the rug is pulled from beneath my feet, and those I loved and cared for years suddenly don't care about me or my happiness, my safety, and everything I gave up for them. The worst thing I did was speak rudely with the poor timing because I was scared, and this is what I get in return for my son and husband? Perhaps I'm taking this personally, but this, ladies, is why you should always have a means of income. Always. Not saying OP is completely at fault or that his mom is blameless, I just don't think this is as simple as it's written here. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his mom? Please let us know. Oh, I can't wait to read the comments we get about this. Should I give up my home office for my stepdaughter? I, 41 female, have been living with my boyfriend Matt, 40 male, for 2 years, together for 4. Matt has a daughter, Phoebe, who's 7, who lives with her mom, literally around the corner. It's maybe a 3-minute walk between our houses, so Phoebe spends a lot of time at ours, but always sleeps over at her mom's. However, Phoebe's mom is moving to a bigger house because she's expecting another baby. This means Phoebe will be about 30 minutes away, so will be spending the nights with us. We have what's technically a 2-bedroom house, but one of those bedrooms is my study. I work from home in a job with high data security requirements. Matt wants me to give up my study so Phoebe can have a bedroom. While I would technically put a bed in my study and share it with Phoebe, it would make it harder for me to work and would mean she couldn't be in her bedroom during working hours. I've suggested that either we move to a 3-bedroom house or look at converting our attic into a bedroom. Either of these options would involve borrowing money, and Matt has a near phobia of debt due to his chaotic childhood. I own our current house outright, having inherited it from my grandma before I met Matt. I don't charge him rent, we split utilities and groceries proportionate to income. I cover all maintenance costs, but he helps out with the labor. He says I'm being selfish and putting myself before Phoebe. I say he's being selfish for the same reason. Update. Wow, it's amazing how people have misread our relationship. First, Matt is not a freeloading loser. He works close to full-time as a pediatrics nurse, slightly reduced hours so he can care for Phoebe after school. Supported us for a while or so while I was getting my business off the ground and does most of the housework. Frankly, he's a gem and I'm lucky to have him. We sat down and had a less fraught discussion about things. He's panicking about Phoebe moving away and the impact it will have on his relationship with her. He also hasn't realized how much money my business is bringing in now and thought I was being foolish with the amount of money I was throwing around on holidays, etc. The thought of adding a hefty debt on top of the panic about Phoebe had him overreacting. We've gone over the figures and worked out that there's a good chance I can pay for the loft conversion without having to take out a loan. If we just get professionals in for the structural side of things and do the rest of the work ourselves. We're going to get a couple of quotes and see how the numbers play out, but this is looking very likely with my office being in the loft. And for people telling me Phoebe isn't my stepdaughter, maybe not legally, but she is in every way that counts. Not the jerk. Man, I was prepared to yell at you until I learned you're willing to move to give your stepdaughter a bedroom. You aren't selfish, you're very accommodating, actually. Your husband needs to address his debt trauma and get good with buying a bigger home. Your family has needs for a larger home, plain and simple. Whoops, editing to add, you aren't married. My brain rewrote a little bit of your life story, apologies. And to be honest, I don't think you should move. I think you should convert your attic and keep letting your house increase in value right now. Same. Was totally prepared to go off on OP, but no, she's the sane one. She even had offered to move from her totally paid off home. OP, your boyfriend is a mooch who is now asking for even more of your home for free. If it doesn't work for him, maybe he needs to find his own place. He's saving a heck of a lot of money by not paying rent. His mooching self can pay for an attic conversion. What is he doing with his money? Is he hoarding it whilst OP pays for him and kiddo to live at her owned home? Sorry, but half utilities and groceries doesn't cut it. His kiddo is there, and now spending nights, he needs to pay more. Why should OP be paying for his kid? He is being entirely unreasonable. Am I the jerk for not tying my girlfriend's shoelaces? I'm 24, male. My girlfriend, who's also 24, broke her hand recently. We had dinner with some of my friends last night. She insisted on wearing shoes with laces. I asked her how she planned on tying her shoelaces if they got untied. She said she'd make me tie them. I told her I wouldn't and that she'd end up breaking her other hand. I'm guessing she thought I was joking because her shoelaces did get untied when we were out with my friends and she told me to tie them. I laughed in her face and told her to tie them herself. She stared at me angrily like I did something wrong by refusing to tie her stupid shoelaces that I warned her about. I avoided her for the rest of the night. I noticed her shoelaces were tied on the way home, so she probably made some poor guy tie them for her. She slept on the couch last night and won't talk to me. Am I the jerk? You're the jerk. Why are you with someone you clearly don't like or care about? When I was pregnant, my husband refused to let me struggle with my shoes. He always helped me. After I gave birth, like months later, I was having a back issue and asked him to help me with my shoes. He was kneeling down and looked up at me and said, "You know, I really miss helping you with your shoes." I was like, "Who are you?" He loved me and wanted to help me however he could. OP clearly doesn't give a darn about his girlfriend. I don't have a broken hand, But when we go skiing, my boyfriend puts on my boots and takes them off for me because he knows I'm new to it and it takes me a long time to figure it out. Does he have to? Absolutely not. He does it on his own and without me ever asking because he loves me and wants to make my life easier. OP's girlfriend has a broken hand and literally can't do it on her own. I hope she dumps OP because she deserves so much better. Some people seriously can't grasp the concept of empathy. My ex broke her leg really badly when we were together. 6 months bed rest and another 6 before it was weight bearing. She was sent home from the hospital with meds and had to take 2 every 4 hours. I couldn't sleep in the bed with her because I move in my sleep and couldn't risk hitting her busted leg, and still had to sleep in the same room to wake up and give her meds. Solution was a little foam camping mattress next to the bed on the floor so I could be nearby if she needed something. My brother was visiting and saw it and asked if that was where the dog slept. I told him that it was for me and he thought it was the funniest thing. He told everyone that my girlfriend made me sleep on a dog bed on the floor and how degrading that was for me. He literally could not grasp that I would choose to be slightly uncomfortable to provide some level of comfort to someone else. Another time, we were at my parents' house and it was a full house, no seating room. He was lying on a lounger chair and made his girlfriend sit on the floor instead of giving it up or sharing it. There are people like this in the world. She finna leave you for the guy who tied her shoes. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his girlfriend? Please let us know. Am I the jerk for refusing to take 50% custody after my kids left themselves? I know the title makes me sound like a jerk, but hear me out. I, 35 female, have 3 kids with my ex-boyfriend, who's 37. We had 50-50 custody since our last daughter, 7 years of age. June of 2021, he asked for 100% custody, and of course, I refused. He threatened me, saying he would get it. That Sunday, when I got them for my week, my kids were angry and accused me of taking them. The whole week, they were too much, so I gave him 100% custody while agreeing to pay child support. It was summer, so of course they were having lots of fun, and since his new girlfriend couldn't have kids, it was like a perfect situation for them. Well, I moved out of the house, got an apartment where I could easily pay rent, and began living my best life. It got kind of lonely, but I reminded myself it was just me and I was free to do anything I want. Well, once school started, problems rose at their house. He didn't know what to do when it came to school as I covered all of it. I gave him a binder with everything he would need to do. Well, since January, the kids and my ex have been begging to go back to 50-50, and I've refused every time. His reasons are: 1, they can't have bedtime with them in the house; 2, working with the school for grades is too complicated; 3, he can't discipline them; 4, they expect an allowance; 5, he's sorry for threatening me. I still refused and told them they made their choice. Well, he told my family, and I'm getting messages from everyone for not taking the kids back. So, am I the jerk? Edit. A lot of you think I should see them on weekends and try to rebuild the relationship before going back to 50-50. I think I will try this, and thank you to the others who said I was the jerk and have a good reason why. I will be putting my kids first from now on. Everyone sucks here. Neither of the parents seem to be very concerned about what's in the best interest of the kids, only what's convenient or inconvenient to themselves. Right? One of those kids is 7 years old and didn't want to be with mom, so she just gave up custody, moved, and started a new life? It sounds like a really bad joke that an overtired mom would tell, but never seriously consider. It also sounds like the dad was fun dad and never helped with schoolwork or enforced bedtimes. He's only there for the fun stuff and is finding out the hard way that that's not going to cut it. I seriously feel so bad for those kids. Both parents try to give them up as soon as things get hard. That's going to have lasting effects. Seems no surprise to me that they're acting out either. With so much animosity between the parents, those kids must have minimal sense of security or stability. You can't limit parenting your kids to the times when they're well behaved. If anything, it's when they're misbehaving and lashing out that they need you more. The ex 100% created this situation. Why is everyone blaming the mom? A protracted and contentious custody battle would have been way worse on the kids. If the mom takes the kids back at this age, the ex will pull this crap again and again. As easy as it was to get mom out of the picture, it needs to be 10x as hard to get her to come back. Lawyer, family therapy, written agreements filed with the court. It's the only way to keep it from happening again. I don't think OP wanted to give up the kids. Her ex had successfully turned the kids against her. It's not the kids' fault, but at some point you have to cut your losses. If you broke your hand, you can't be hitting it against the wall. You have to let your hand heal. It's the same for a broken heart. She didn't give up on them when it got hard. She gave them what they wanted. Her ex is trying to give up when it gets hard. He probably just wanted the kids so it would hurt her. It worked. He hurt her and he hurt them. She upholds her responsibility. She pays child support. That is what everyone agreed on. She moved on to a different living situation since she no longer had the kids, so it's not as easy as just taking the kids again 50% of the time. Her ex made his bed, so he knows what he has to do now. I don't think OP is a jerk. I think OP did what her ex and the kids wanted. She pays child support, and that is the extent of her responsibilities now. It's easy to make the mother out to be the jerk, but none of us know what she went through. In my case, I asked my ex to take the kids because I could not get good childcare for them working double shifts to pay the bills. You know what the lawyer put in the papers for me to sign? That I was an unfit mother that is never at home. Edit. Because according to him, I was too busy whirling around in bars at night, and that the kids would be better off staying with their cheating father. I set that straight real quick. The reason why I'm not at home is because I work double shifts in nursing homes, cleaning old people, because their families don't care most of the time. I had to change that real quick because I told him and ex both that I can get a lawyer and plenty of witnesses that will testify on my behalf and ruin his life. So stop making assumptions about this woman and what kind of a mother she is. Am I the jerk for showing my boyfriend the doctor's note saying I need a responsible adult with me for the first 12 hours after surgery? I, 32 female, had dental surgery done on Friday where I was sedated. I can only eat soft food for the next 2 weeks, can't really talk, and have stitches on both sides of the roof of my mouth and on both my upper and lower teeth on the right side. The surgeon was very clear that I was not allowed to drive myself to the appointment, and a taxi or Uber was not appropriate as the sedation would require a responsible adult to supervise me for the day following my surgery. 4 months ago, I asked my boyfriend, 32 male, of 15 years to schedule this day off work to help me as I don't have any family in town who could assist. The day before the appointment, he told me that he had booked a job at work. He's a mechanic and would have to go in for part of the day. I reminded him about needing someone to help take care of me, and he said he would try to get everything done while they were performing the surgery. The day of the surgery came and he dropped me off and then he went to work. When I came out of surgery, he was agitated, saying that he had been waiting for an hour for me to finish. I apologized. Before we left, the doctor told him he would have to go to the pharmacy on the way home to pick up my pain meds. When we got to the pharmacy, nothing was ready and we were told we would have to come back in an hour and a half. He brought me home and then left, saying that if I needed something to call him. I cried and begged him to stay to help me, but he said he had to go because the customer really needed their car and he didn't want to give away the work to another mechanic because then he wouldn't make the money. As background information, he's paid per job and usually makes between 65 to 80 hours each week. 4 hours later, he returned with the pain meds. By this point, I was in tears and having a complete meltdown because of the pain, the sedation, and trying to take care of our dog. When he got there, our dog was barking and whining to go for a walk. I asked him if he could please take her while I try to eat something so I can take the pills, and he again said he was busy and had to go back to work. When he got home that night at 7, surgery finished at 11 a.m., I asked him to please read over the instructions. He got very angry and said I was deliberately trying to make him feel bad by asking him to read the part about having a responsible adult at home with me for the first 12 hours. It is now Sunday and he is still furious with me. He said I was unreasonable and that if he works in town and it only takes him 20 minutes to come home, there was no reason for him to stay at home with me. He's refused to do anything to help this weekend and has instead spent the entire weekend playing video games, watching TikTok videos, and napping. He won't even sleep in our bed, and he told me today that I better find someone else to help me when I get my second surgery on the other half of my mouth because he's not doing it. Am I the jerk here for expecting him to take care of me? Not the jerk. Sweetie, he isn't a good boyfriend. He said he would help, then suddenly couldn't. He still won't help and expects you to soldier on like you aren't in pain. This shows he is selfish. If he absolutely couldn't get the day off, he should have told you. But he didn't even give you a chance to find someone else. He is right. Find someone else for the surgery, like a new boyfriend. He has to go. My long-term partner would never let me cry in pain like this and go play video games. You deserve so much better. Or even a good person. Why would you let someone suffer for 4 hours without pain meds? Why won't he believe you when you tell him what the doctor's instructions are? This. My ex and I were at the very beginning of our separation when I had dental surgery, and he still took me and took care of me after. People suck. Not the jerk, but you misread the instructions. They said responsible adult. Your boyfriend seems to be overwhelmed with any responsibility outside of fixing cars. Hope you have a responsible adult to call on. He is not it. Am I the jerk for telling my husband I was tired of babysitting? This weekend, my 34 female husband, 38 male, last minute invited two of his friends, both males late 30s, over to hang out. I always enjoy hanging out with these friends. They usually bring their partners, but this time did not. They did each bring their kids, and one of them brought their 3 dogs. My kids enjoy playing with their kids, so it was all good. Approximately 10 minutes after everyone arrived at our house, the men went upstairs to play PlayStation, leaving me responsible for supervising and caring for 5 kids, ages 10, 10, 7, 7, and 5, and 3 dogs for 5+ hours. 2 of the kids are mine. This was not discussed beforehand, and if I had not been here, they would not have left the kids downstairs or outside unsupervised. The kids were mostly well behaved and only broke a few things and got in a few fights. After about 4 hours, my husband came downstairs and asked me how it was going, and I told him I was tired of babysitting, and it's not how I thought our hangout day would go. He got very upset. He said he never invites friends over to do this, which is true. They have never gone upstairs to play video games for hours while I watch their kids, and he felt like I was only thinking of myself. Now I feel like a jerk, and I feel like I should have just let him have his fun afternoon and evening with his friends. Not the jerk. Your husband's friends didn't need to bring their dogs and kids to play video games. The dogs and kids could have been left at their respective homes. Their wives were tired of always being stuck with the kids too. I bet those wives thought their husbands were having a dad and kids day. I doubt they'd be pleased to find out hubby foisted them off to OP. Not the jerk. He should have asked you beforehand if he could have a special day with his friends and if you would agree to babysit their kids and dogs. To simply impose it on you is rude and disrespectful, and he owes you an apology.
Huge shout out to our newest official channel member, Izzy Lizzy. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. It really means the world to Reddit Boy and I. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.